Hey everyone, and welcome to The Game Code. We are the only video game show in Atlantic Canada. We're bringing you the latest in everything that has to do with video games in the region and in the world. I'm your host, Stephanie Pelley, and in this, what will be our last episode before the Christmas break, we're going to actually be having a little bit of a roundtable discussion where we discuss the best and the worst of the video game industry in 2012. I'll be joined by a couple of people that you might recognize, so stick around. All right, and welcome to our first ever Gamer Roundtable. I have been told that my opinions aren't the only ones that matter sometimes, which is why I'm joined by these guys, who will you probably recognize. We have Adam Morehouse here from Lag TV, and the Game Code's very own Mike Sharp. So welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Let's get right into it. 2012 was an interesting year for gaming. Maybe not the best year for gaming. Some hits and some misses, maybe more misses than hits. What do you guys think? Adam, what were some highlights for you?
Well, this year I was really excited about the amount of AAA sequels that we had. We got berated with them, and in fact that's actually part of what I believe to be the downfall of 2012 for gaming, is that there was actually just too many sequels. But on the plus side, a lot of the sequels were actually quite good. Halo 4, I was a skeptic. I actually thought Halo 4 was going to be absolutely terrible. I was a bad on me. I was doubting 343 Studios. I didn't think they'd be able to pull it off, and as it stands, it actually turned out to be quite good. And of course, stuff like Assassin's Creed 3 ended up being amazing as well. So lots of great sequels. That would be my highlight, but also the biggest miss. No new real IPs that came into play.
Mike, how about you?
Yeah, definitely to echo what Adam said. You know what? It's everyone laments the sequels. It's the, oh look, it's time for, you know, the next Call of Duty. But really, they are kind of a lot of fun to play, and I enjoyed myself with one notable exception. Resident Evil 6, definite stinker of the year right there. Yeah. I'm a big Resident Evil fan myself, and to see that come out was just disappointment for sure. You know, the other big thing that's sort of a hit and a miss at the same time, or some interesting stuff that Steam decided to do. The Steam Movie Maker, awesome. It adds so much to a lot of games that really, I mean, it's hard to say that TF2 is waning in people's interest. It's still a very popular game, but it's impressive that they can take a game that is much older and breathe new life into it and get a whole new group of people interested in it again. Same thing with their indie service, Limelight. Yeah, it's a bit of a miss though, because it really started out bad. There was a lot of confusion. A lot of people were just throwing up titles for nothing. So they had to get some kinks out. I don't think they've approached it 100% yet, but it is getting better. And at least it's a positive sign. So a bit of a hit and a miss at the same time.
I'm actually going to start off with a miss, and the reason why I'm doing that is because I thought it was a big miss, and that's E3 this year. Which was,
yep. Yeah.
I mean, for lack of a better word, it was kind of boring. It wasn't particularly entertaining. I mean, I know that there weren't really plans for any like major hardware announcements this year. No one was really expecting that, but it was kind of an opportunity for Nintendo to kind of step up to the plate a little bit. They had that opportunity this year. The spotlight was shined on them, and it seemed like they were handed the microphone and they choked. Mm-hmm. They didn't sell the Wii U very well at all. The good thing I think you could say about E3 is that it actually gave some of the game developers time to shine. I mean, you look at Ubisoft, who hasn't had a good E3 in a couple of years, and they had a great show with Watch Dogs and Assassin's Creed 3 and Far Cry 3. So on the brighter side of things, it got the developers some time to shine, but yeah, not a good year for the consoles at E3 at all. One of my hits for this year, it's actually not even a game, it's a film, and I saw Wreck-It Ralph a couple of weeks ago, and I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. It was very cutesy. I don't know if it's particularly for everybody. Great Disney film. I think even for like a lot of old school gamers, there's enough like old references to kind of like bring up that nostalgia, and I thought it was a fantastic film. It's probably going to be going out of theaters soon, so I'd recommend that anybody kind of get in and have a look at it.
Well, and that's the other, I think, you know, one of the bigger things for 2012, and it's sort of the more general acceptance of gamer culture, and you know, movies like that are perfect examples. I hate to be the one to point to like the Big Bang Theory as something that's driving some sort of like, you know, appreciation of nerds.
There's no product placement in that show at all.
It's very pandering, but at the same time, You know what?
You
like,
gotta get happy about it.
Yeah, it's like, well, finally, like there's a Nintendo joke. There's there's jokes that are relevant to the sort of the world that we're in. But so it's nice to see that. I mean, maybe that in and of itself is probably a big hit of 2012. You know, all the things that represents. I mean, Wreck-It Ralph is a perfect example of that for sure.
Let's move on. Let's talk about crowdfunding. So more and more game developers, a lot of indie developers, and even some of the major studios, they're kind of looking to Kickstarter and Indiegogo to try and like get some quick cash for game development. And Kickstarter's actually dubbed 2012, back in September, the year of the game. And this is because the majority of Kickstarter fundraising projects that capped the $1 million mark were video game development projects. And I mean, you look at Obsidian's Project Eternity back in October, which, I mean, they blew their goal out of the water at $4 million raised. But is this good? Is this good for games? Like, is this good for game development? Mike, I know you might probably have some feelings on this, so is this a yay or nay for you?
I'm always the rain cloud when talks about crowdfunding come up. You know, there's no denying its potential to bring a game to life that never would have been. You can't deny that, and of course that's what it's going to be great for. But to say that crowdfunding is really bringing some sort of equal opportunity for the gamer to get something, it's not. There's very little to be held accountable for. Like, the reason you have developers or investors, depending on how you want to go about the game, is that you need some sort of accountability to someone. Like, if someone's going to give you money, someone else needs to hold you accountable. And sure, ideally, there are obviously many examples where that's not the case, but there does have to be this sort of relationship. Like, the people that are very creative aren't necessarily going to be the most successful in actually bringing a game to light. So if you want that sort of drive, you've got to go there, and effectively crowdsourcing crowdfunding will get you there. Will get you that money, and you do still have a drive, but it's throwing money into a product that you may never see. And I think what you're going to see is, with 2012 as the year of the game, 2013 is going to be the year of the gamer disappointment. There are going to be a lot of crowd-funded projects that will not come about, and effectively have turned the people that they've crowdfunded into very rich cheaters of the system.
I don't know if you guys have seen Indie Game the movie, but I mean, it basically follows like two independent video game developers who are under so much pressure from their fans to crank these games out and have them out on a timed schedule, and just how vocal you were saying earlier about the gaming community, and it definitely is. And I mean, these guys are on the verge of literally like a complete nervous breakdown. So I think we're going to see like a lot of game developers saying to themselves, was it worth it?
Well, the thing about that too is you said investors, and while they're investors in type, they're not actually investors in a traditional sense. Like, if you invest in something in crowdfunding, you don't actually have something there. You've given money to an idea, and that's the big difference there, and that's where the accountability stems from. If I was an investor that had money and wanted to invest in a game company, I would own some portion of said product, and with crowdfunding, you don't.
I choose to look at it at the other side of the coin, where I choose to look at it that these guys aren't going to be screwing everybody over simultaneously.
Some people will, but we're gonna see some good projects.
I'll give the benefit of the doubt to most of the people who are trying to do this stuff, and my biggest thing for crowdfunding is that it gives indie development another home outside of major corporate publishers like Activision and Electronic Arts and Bethesda and so on and so forth, who really, let's be honest, they don't like to take risks. Period, because they've gotten too big for their britches. They've got to the point where they are corporate. They don't need to take risks. They don't need to take risks, and their investors, the real investors, don't want them to take risks. They want them to do something that makes money, and thus Call of Duty with horses and lasers. That's what we have come to. That's awesome. Is horses and lasers in Call of Duty. So that's why I like the crowdfunding approach, because it will give indie games an opportunity to continue to flourish. Because really, if you think about it, all of the awesome stuff, well, not all of it, but a lot of the awesome stuff that we're seeing in major IPs and major titles now have come from some sort of derivative out of an indie game that's happened over the last few years. So, I mean, think of some of the major ones that started the whole indie game kick back on the Xbox Live, like Braid. for instance. Really, the games as art thing came back in as a big deal, and then you started seeing major titles trying to incorporate that as some sort of aspect to their games and so on and so forth. I feel like it's a major thing for the crowdfunding to exist so that there is a home away from corporate greedville where they'll say, yeah, come here, indie guys, come here. I want to give you all this money, but there has to be guns, horses, and lasers.
And zombies.
And zombies.
And you have to make a special edition Xbox.
In everything you do. And so I'm more excited about that than anything for that reason. And that's why I'm also excited about the Ouya console, because just the same as Kickstarter programs and so on give the indie developers a home away from the big corporate publishers, the Ouya console, if implemented, would give the indie game people a home for their games away from the major console market. And it gives them more of the limelight when necessary on a console for, technically, you know, if Ouya does sell out and all of a sudden it's Call of Duty and Madden NFL 2093, then yeah, that's a problem. But if they stay the course, then that will be two different things for two different homes away from the major market where they need to be, and then will hopefully flourish there instead of having to rely on the big guys.
We're going to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more on our year in review for 2012.